And we're live. Hello, welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show for you, all the way from the hospital bed and with David Null. Thank you, Hawkeye Two Feathers, for coming.
Yeah, glad I could make it. I'm room 501 at the Archibald Hospital in Thomasville, Georgia. So I had another major surgery on my back yesterday, and I'm here. They're asking me to watch later the show we're doing. Anyway, let me state right out to everybody. I got my little old cell phone sitting here on the table, and I'm in my hospital bed thingy. And if something happens, I have touched a button, and I'll have to reboot. So hopefully, me and Robert put this together here this afternoon, and he's lost his keys. If anybody can find his keys psychically, let him know where they are. Because the poor man has lost all his keys.
Yes, I've misplaced my vehicle keys that has every key I have on there, all my key. It's a big pile of keys, and I don't know where I put it. Usually I hang it on, the little elves must have come and got it, because usually I hang it on my key rack when I come in the door, and after a week I come back and it's not on the key rack. Unfortunately, it's snowing outside, and if I dropped it as I walked in the house last week, it's going to be buried under the snow. But who knows where I put it? I tore the house. I worked all day tearing the house apart looking for them. I just don't know. They got to be here somewhere. But where, I can't tell you. But this is not about me. It's about you. And I'm going to let you know, because you got a small screen there. Now, just remember, don't touch the screen. You're in good. We can see you really good right now. Hear you excellent. Everything is good. So, yeah, don't be fiddling. Just let you know who's all here. Pamela Jean's in the house. She says, okay, let's all remote view Robert's keys. Yes, let's.
There you go.
My keys. Focus on the keys. I'll give you a number here in a second. Pa Joe's in the house. Thank you for coming, Pa Joe. Witchy Moon says Hawkeye. Yeah.
Hey, girl, it was a good chat today. We had a good talk on the phone, and I'm going to ask you in front of everybody, did our chat do any good?
Yeah. Susie Q says, dirty clothes or a jacket? Yes, I tore all the jackets and all the clothes apart. Check the washing machine, everything. Yeah. Pa Joe said, waving. He says, good to see you, David. There you go. Pamela Jean says, glad you survived. Lucky Stone's in the house. Favor, peace, prosperity to you all. And thank you for all coming. I'm still looking for ideas. I'm thinking, where did I put them? Did I set them down? I must have set them down somewhere. That's the only thing I can think of. Yeah, right in front of you. They got to be right in front of me, 7P. That's for sure. Somewhere right in front of me. And I just...
one of these days you're going to trip over them.
He's setting... Elderberry's in the house. He says keys were setting where you put your pair of glasses. Elderberry, I got like 5 or 6 pairs of glasses because I keep losing them. And then I set them down in different places. Lady Spellbreaker's in the house. Hello, she says. Hello, Robert and Hawkeye. It's really good to see you in good spirits. The other day when you were in so much pain, it was really painful, to hear you struggling like that, and now they got you fixed up. And tell them the story. Now, everybody don't know the story. I don't know how much of the story you want to tell. I'm sure you can tell it better of what you want to tell and how it went, because you were there.
Boy, howdy was I.
Yeah.
Now, I want to first say this isn't just a story about my back surgery. But it is, but it ain't. But a lot of this has to do, honestly, with Social Security tried to kill me, and I'm not exaggerating. So as I tell the story, it got a little complicated here the other day. But had they sent me home on Tuesday in the condition that I was in, I honestly don't know if I would be here. I mean, I'm serious, because I had developed a blood clot, which is called a hematoma in the medical profession, you know. But but anyway, most I think everybody knows. I don't know if Teresa knew that I was going in for surgery, but last week before I came in, I got a strike against my channel, because in the last show that I did on my live stream, I said something about the 19 thing, okay? And they claimed that I was spreading disinformation, and I got my first official strike, and they put me in jail for a week, which happened to be, well, a Friday week ago. But I was already in the hospital by that time and had been operated on. So anyway, I couldn't inform anybody as to I was going in and what was going on and that update before I had the operation, because I was in YouTube jail. But anyway, so my back surgery included my entire lumbar area, and because of all the carny work and everything that I've done and all the heavy lifting and all the accidents and things I've been in my 70 years of here, my whole entire spine had collapsed upon itself. I mean, I'm literally a half-inch shorter than I was when I was a teenager. And it ain't because of old age, but it is. But anyway, so I have managed to go to the doctor, as many of you might have heard, and I've told, you know, I went to this doctor, Dr. Cadis, and saw all my MRIs and stuff, and he explained what was going to be done and so forth. Well, the big day was a week ago yesterday. And so I went in, 5:30 in the morning, pre-op, first person in there to get operated on that morning. And everything went fine up to there. I woke up a few hours later after the operation, and OMG, it hurt. Let me tell you, that having back surgery is not for the faint of heart. But as many of you know, everything else with my heart attack and everything, it turned out well. And I just couldn't see living in the pain that I was in for so many years. So I made the decision to go ahead and have the operation. They didn't add any hardware to me, because my lumbar area is squashed to the point where the vertebrae, there's no disc, and it's literally growing together, which is okay. But it had squashed the nerves. So the operation was to go in and just grind away where they had smushed together, and the nerves go through there's channels on either side of your spine all the way down where the nerves come out of your spine. And because it was squashed so bad, the operation was it's simple in a way, but to just go in there and grind the bone away and open up that space to not pinch the nerves. That was the operation. Well, afterwards, talking with the doctor and how did it go, you know, it was supposed to take maybe 4 hours. It took about 3. He said he couldn't have asked for a better operation. He didn't have any complications. He went in, he said it was tedious, but I came out good. So, you know, the next morning, on Friday a week ago in the morning, he came by, how you doing? Do you have any tingling in your legs? Is there any pain? And a pain that had been nagging me, I don't know, for 6 or 7 years, constantly, it never went away, is gone. It's gone now. So here's the thing where Medicare comes in, okay? Medicare has established for all kinds of different procedures. Okay, not just this one, but this is the one I've had now. So when you come into the hospital for the surgery, you're under Part A of Medicare, and which covers everything in the hospital and operations and stuff and so forth. And you are considered by the hospital an inpatient. Well, duh, I'm in the hospital. I've just had an operation. I'm inpatient, right? Logical. However, over the course of last Saturday and Sunday, because had been walking around up here and therapy had come to get me, and I just had a breathing thingy before I came on. So they're giving me breathing treatments to keep my lungs clear. They're doing post-op stuff. For example, I got stuffed up for 3 days and couldn't use the commode. And so, they're giving me stool softeners and all. I know this sounds like TMI, but if you ever have a major operation and they put you under, it's going to lock up your system. You ain't going to be able to poo for a couple of days. All right. It just is what it is. I've been here before with other operations. I expected it. However, I didn't expect how bad, and I won't go into that because that was gross. But the day that I'm really having to have a really good BM after all this treatment and everything, I go to stand up by the bed and I can't move. Where the night before, I'd walked around up now with help with therapy, and I'm walking around with my little, I got to have a walker because you can't walk without it, I'm telling you. And but I got along. It's only been 2 days afterwards, and I'm doing all right. Actually, it was Saturday, Sunday. It was Monday of this week, actually. Yeah, it seems like I've been here a month, y'all. So on Monday, because I'd made the lap around and everything up here, they have to withhold my heart medicine that thins the blood, because they don't want you to have thin blood. They don't want you to bleed out. So for 3 days, let's say 48 hours ish, and for me it ended up being 3 days. I wanted to be sure, and my heart doctor can be mad at me if he wants to, but I didn't want to bleed out during the operation. So everything's hunky-dory. Tuesday morning, wake up, call the nurse to help me go to the bathroom. I can't stand up. The pain is so severe. I have never, in my 3 operations on my leg as a kid before 1971, the 3 surgeries I've had at this hospital back in the 80s didn't hurt. I've never hurt that bad. I almost cut my leg off with a chainsaw years ago, and it slashed my leg. I was a mile on a piece of property that was over 1,000 acres cutting firewood, and I taped myself up with duct tape. That didn't hurt as bad. Let me tell you. So they're supposed to release me on Tuesday. Now, this was about lunchtime that this happened. So now they've already got the proceedings of me leaving the hospital that afternoon. So now I got folks that live 50 miles away that are going to come down and get me. I got folks over here that are a long way away. They're going to come help me, because y'all know I live by myself with Duggar. And, oh, by the way, he really misses me. Do you have that picture of Duggar with the toy in his mouth by any chance?
No.
Okay, never mind. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, poor old Dougie, he's got his purple. My neighbor sent me a picture of Duggar with his purple monkey out in his mouth out in the yard. So, but anyway, as I finally settle down and they get me some pain meds, I'm in the bed. I'm hurting like a 9.5, and I can't stand. I'm crying. I cried for 30 minutes and I couldn't stop. It hurt so bad. And I'm not exaggerating. So anyway, an hour or so after I finally get me calmed down, I'm in the bed, I found a spot, and I'm not hurting as bad. It's about a good 8.5. And every time they come in, what's your pain level, Mr. Null? And what's your birth date and who are you? So the hospital staff, I gotta say, has been marvelous, okay, above and beyond. Well, my caseworker comes in and they're trying to get me a walker because I have to have a walker before I leave the hospital. They want me to have one. And I got a $200 walker sitting over here. But anyway, I got a huge brace that I have to put on my back. I've had braces and stuff on before, but this thing is monstrous and heavy, but boy, it'll hold you together. So she comes in to tell me about, here I've got this, I want to call it a stroller, but anyway, it's a walker. And she goes, they were supposed to have delivered it Tuesday while she was here. Then she found out, she goes, well, Mr. Null, I think they're trying to dismiss you today. And I was like, what? And I mean, I had just been in so much pain. I was like, okay, so now what? Well, we've got this walker, but it's the hospitals, and Medicare is not going to cover it. Well, okay, how come? But, she goes, well, don't worry about it. We'll work it out. But whether you pay for it or not, here's a walker for you, because the one I ordered for you for free has not been delivered to the hospital yet. Okie dokie. So as we're finding this out, she said, I've got a meeting. I'll be back. In the meantime, another very competent a black woman comes up and she said, okay, you have to sign these papers because you're being released. And I said, really? Do you know how much pain I'm under? Do you understand? She goes, well, that doesn't matter. And I was like, okay. So sign these papers. I'll be back. Now, I went through lunch, and then right after lunch, the first lady comes back with the walker and so forth. And she says, Mr. Null, if you patients, now listen up, this is important, okay? This is really important. When you're in the hospital and they're fixing to release you, if you feel as a patient that they are releasing you early, then you have the right to appeal that decision, but only until they file the go home papers. And so I said, she had known by this time how much pain and the issues I was having standing. I couldn't stand up, let alone go to the bathroom. I made it, sat down, and I thought I was going to end up dying in the bathroom. It hurt so badly, and I couldn't get up. These two female nurses helping this old 70-year-old man try to get back up from the toilet and pulling my drawers up and everything. It could have been any other time I would have been extremely embarrassed. However, make it back to the bed after that. She says, I'll be right back. She left and came back, brought this paper with the patient's rights on it. This is important. Here's the phone number that you call. It was like 2:30 in the afternoon. She said, call this number right now. And I did. So it's not a complaint against the hospital, but it's a complaint against being discharged. And you can't file the paper or, until the discharge papers have been filed. So if they don't file them until 5 in the afternoon and you call this number, then you run the risk of not being able to file. Now, this is very important for anybody under Medicare. I'm telling you. So you do have patient rights, except this is what I found out that is horrible. Every single day, hospital staff goes into my Medicare account because I'm in there. I've had the operation and everything. And then Medicare has a list of questions that you can't, she said, you can't expound upon it. It's either yes or no. You check the yes box or the no box. And you go down the list of whatever it is for that procedure. Can he walk? Did he poop? Is he drinking? Can he pee okay? I mean, whatever the questions are. So they go down and check the box. And then at the bottom, when they checked all the boxes, you hit enter. And then Medicare, not the doctors nor the hospital, makes the decision as to whether or not you are still an inpatient or an outpatient. So I found out that because they had filled in the latest paper early that morning before I had this issue, I'm still in the hospital, still hooked up to tubes and stuff. I'm now an outpatient status. As an outpatient status, everything changes from Part A Medicare to Part B, which does not cover everything. I could very possibly be liable for copay or the entire cost of the medicines they gave me after I got shifted to outpatient status. In outpatient status, you have no right to appeal. Period. If you're in the outpatient status mode and you think they're sending you home too early, they brought me a piece of paper. The other lady came up and said, if you want to stay for another day, it's going to cost you $900 a day plus your medical expenses. Now, I haven't moved. I'm still hooked up. You can see I still got, tubes and everything here. I'm bruised all over from where they, poked and prodded. And I got a 9-inch scar on the back of my spine. I sent that picture to some of you folks out there. I had one of the nurses take a picture of my back. It looked good on the outside. No leakage, no nothing. So these two women didn't meet each other in the hall, but they passed each other coming in and out of my room. So the first lady's back and she goes, did you call the number? Did you appeal? Yes, ma'am. And she goes, okay, we should be getting a call any moment from the hospital. Now, the deal with this appeal, please listen carefully. Okay, I'm serious. This is how it goes. If you're in the hospital and they change your status midstream, which is what they did to me and other people, I'm not the only one now. This is not just a David Null story. This is happening to millions of Americans. When I talked to the woman on the phone, very nice woman by the first name of Crystal, and she gives me my number. This is your, what would you call it, Robert?
What? Your case number.
Thank you. I've had some meds, so some words just escape me. But anyway, so here's my case number. Now, the first few numbers, it's 2023. It was the 6th or something, and then March and then the 6th. And then an underscore, and the next number in line was 609. And then underscore, and then a capital DN for David Null. That's my case number. So I'm waving it around in front of this lady. I said, here's my appeal. Here's my case number. She goes, sir, I'm sorry, but that's null and void. Yeah, okay. So now I've gone through all this trouble, made the phone calls, done all the things. One caseworker is trying to keep me in. The other one's trying to continuously dismiss me and get rid of me on Tuesday. So as it's going along, they're come back, sign this other paper stating that you blah, 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 blah. And the other lady comes in and she goes, you're not going home. You filed an appeal. Well, I found out the next day that there was a cluster, you know what, going on downstairs within the administration of this stuff. So because somebody has changed my inpatient to outpatient, I'm now under Part B, which is not covering everything. And then they say, well, all right, now what? Now, caseworker number A, who got the walker for me, I can't believe these things are $200, but so she had already gone home. The other woman had come back up. I got one more paper for you to sign, Mr. Null. And I'm like, for those of you who know a little bit about the story, when I had my heart attack in the Colquitt County Hospital, 40 miles up the road from here, 30 actually, but anyway, I didn't know that I had the right to appeal. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they said, you're going home, pack your stuff. And they were like going to wheel me out to the parking lot to get rid of me. This is Moultrie Hospital, Colquitt County. So I didn't know I had patient rights. Nobody from that hospital said anything about that. Still under Medicare, still under Part A. Anyway, this time around, she's kind enough to say, you have these patients' rights. Well, since she had gone home, the other lady's like, nope, here, sign the paper, Mr. Null, sign the papers. And I did. So I'm sitting here. My friend has turned around almost to Tifton to come back. She's sitting over here in the chair, Miss Mandy, and she's like, we'll get you home somehow. And I said, I can't stand up. How am I going to get home? I mean, how am I going to get in my own house? I don't have any stairs or anything to get in, but how am I going to get in my house? I can't stand up. So God bless the floor nurse on the 5th floor up here. She came in and she said, close the door. And she said, Mr. Null, I want you to stand up beside the bed. I said, okay. And I tried. And I got about so far up. And I mean, I fell back down. Give me a second. I'm going to get this. I tried again. Second time, didn't make it as far. The third time, I wiggled around a little bit and was barely able to stand. And I mean, tears are running down my eyes. It hurt so bad. Okay, and I said, okay, now what, ma'am? She goes, sit back down. Okie doke. That was better on me. About 5 minutes later, maybe 10, she comes back in, closes the door. She stands just right on the other side of this table. She said, Mr. Null, you are not going home. And I said, but I've already signed the papers. She looked at me and she goes, very calm, but very forceful in her emotional state standing there. She said, you're not going home today. And but I just signed the papers. She just left out of here. They're supposed to be coming to get me. And she leaned in a little bit. And she said, Mr. Null, you are not going home today. Okie dokie. So, so I said, okie dokie. How do you know something when the woman I just signed the papers with, I'm not going to mention any names, I don't want anybody to get in trouble. This is not about the people in the hospital. This has to do with Medicare. So I said, what's up? She said, I called Dr. Cadis, who's my surgeon, and he has rescinded your orders to go home. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, okay. And she said, he has ordered an MRI for you because if you can't stand, something's wrong. And I'm like, yeah, buddy. Because, 12 hours earlier, I was putzing around up here with a walker, but okay. Thinking, give me one more day. I will go home. Well, they came and got me 9 o'clock that night for the MRI. Took me down. It was so painful. Holy mackerel, 30 minutes in that machine and the pain I was under because they didn't know what was wrong. So I got through with it. I'm back in the room up here, 9:30, it's 10:30 now, but it was about this time of night. And I've calmed down. I've had pain meds that, to get me in a better place. The gentleman who's on tonight, he sticks his head in and he goes, your MRI results are back. And I'm like, it's like 10:30 at night. Really? Yep. And Dr. Cadis says you have a hematoma on your spine. Knowing hematoma is blood clot. Okay. And you're scheduled for surgery on Thursday, which was yesterday. Well, wait a minute, what happened? So I haven't seen the MRI, but apparently it was really bad because it had paralyzed me from the waist down. So now I'm back because of the MRI results. I am now out of Part B outpatient. I'm back to inpatient status because now there's proof that I have something else wrong with me after the surgery. Now, Medicare chooses the average. Well, the average stay for someone with this type of operation is 3 or 4 days. I was on my 4th day. I'm overdue. They want me out. The system wants me out because those are the outlines and guidelines, okay? And you can argue and piss and moan all you want to, but Medicare has set up these standards for every single procedure. Don't care if you're bleeding on the floor and about to die. If you've been there for 4 days and they think you're supposed to be gone, they don't care what the doctor says. They don't care what the nursing staff says. I mean it. And unless you can hit that window where you can appeal, you don't have a choice. You're going home even if you're dead. So they've been giving me steroids, which keeps the inflammation down, which it didn't heal me, but I felt better almost immediately after that. Now this is 12 o'clock at night. It's now Wednesday morning. So I suffered through the night and, and got to Thursday morning kind of thing. And, or Wednesday night. Yeah. So on Wednesday, 12 o'clock before Thursday, I'm NPO, which means you can't have anything by mouth. You can't drink any water, no food, no nothing. Okay. They say you're going down at 7:30 in the morning. Okay. Well, so all night long, I'm watching that clock up there going, come on, 7:30. Come on, 7:30. Let's get this over with. Well, about 5 o'clock in the morning, the floor nurse for the evening comes in and says, they've moved your surgery to 3 p.m. today. All right. So that means I'm going to be without food or water for like 18 hours. Or, whatever, 12, that's 12, 13, 14, 15 hours. Okay. I'm not trying to stretch it. I just can't count. I'm like, oh man, come on, really? So they got to bathe you down with this special soap and everything before you get operated on. It's a big procedure. They have to change all my bedding out and put brand new because you got to be clean and squeaky clean before you go in. Did all this. Finally, at about 10 o'clock that Thursday morning, they call me to go down for pre-op. Now, the caseworker has come in. It's good that you're going down. They're going to do a super duper wash, a blood wash or something. I can't. Wash is in the statement. Okay, fine. Medicare, the doctor, through his power of being a doctor here for 44 years, has rescinded the order, and now that we've got proof that there is really something wrong, because now they can't wait. They need to operate ASAP. They couldn't do it Wednesday because they already had all the surgeries set up. I know I'm a little long-winded, but this is important. So I'm talking to the nurses staff downstairs in the, just before you go into the OR, and I'm explaining the situation, and they're like, you mean you were outpatient like 12 hours ago? Yep, or it was actually 24 by then. Well, that changes your status as Medicare, and because these are elderly people who are taking my information and prepping me and everything. And all right. So a little bit about, I'm going to go to the operation a little bit. So what had happened, and Doc said, damn if you do or damn if you don't, trying to comply with my heart doctor, they wanted me back on blood thinners. Okay, I'm getting notices that's covering covering up my screen. Anyway, so where did I leave off? I get interrupted.
They were giving you blood thinners.
Yeah. That's what created the hematoma. So my blood was so thin, it was leaking around where they had to do all the cutting and grinding and stuff, and it leaked and created a giant pus bubble of blood. Well, in order to do that, they have to go back in and reopen this 9-inch incision, which is starting to heal really nicely from the outside, I might add. And they have these grabbers that go in and grab your skin and the muscle. And the nurse explained it to me. She goes, it just rips you back open so they can get in there. She said they use a pressure washer that looks like a drill. And it's got a hose on it and everything, but it's a handheld little pressure washer thing. And she said they open you up and split you open so they can get to you. And they take this pressure washer and go up and down your spine and just blast the bejeebers out of it. And I said, well, doesn't it spray blood and water everywhere? And she goes, no, it just so happens to have a round suction cup on it that sucks up all the dust, the mist and blood and stuff. And I said, so it's sort of like a Stanley steamer kind of thing, huh? She goes, yeah, just without the steam. So it pushes out, cleans it, and then sucks everything back up into the machine. Great. Now I'm fixing to go in, and this is what they're going to do to me in like 20 minutes. So fine, everything's great. I go in and they put me to sleep, and I say, so when am I supposed to start counting backwards? And the guy said, anytime, you're fixing to go. So I started with 7, 6, 5, and I was out. Wake up on the other side yesterday, hurting, they had just ripped me open again and sandblasted my spine. And they cleaned it out good, and the hematoma is gone. And I have been walking around upstairs. I've had therapy and everything today, and I do feel much better. But they ripped open that 9-inch incision, and I'm hurting. Okay, I've had my pain meds before we came on, but through all of this. But anyway, now with that said, I'm in recovery mode again because I was at this point a week ago. All right. So I'm repeating myself with this, but through all this, I'm finding out, back to Medicare, that Medicare, now because of the blood clot and the hematoma, I can't be placed into outpatient observation because of the severity of the hematoma. So now they can't move me out of inpatient until Monday. There's so many, here we go this is Medicare. Medicare has determined that after this procedure, you must stay for at least 3 days. Well, today's 1, tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday. So that'll be my 3 days. And then she said, must reevaluate you, not from the previous surgery, but from the hematoma. So it kind of reset everything. Well, in the meantime, I'm finding out because I want to know, how can you switch me while I'm in the hospital hooked up to an IV, how I'm suddenly not an inpatient anymore? It's because of Medicare and their guidelines. They don't tell you. They changed my armband here. And when they did, I said, what's that for? And they go, well, we changed, your status has been changed. So every time they come in to give me meds, they bar scan me here and it goes into the computer system, all nice and neat. But I said, how in the hell can I, while I'm laying in this bed screaming for, for mercy, literally that day I was, please, Jesus, come and help me. Up to that point, I had not asked for any help from the universe. I know y'all were praying for me. I've had folks I was, doing messaging with, but I had not asked for anything personally from my spirit guides or anybody. I was begging. I was begging, pleading. Somebody's got to come help me. Well, it was the floor nurse I found out the next day, who had gone above and beyond her job duties. When she came in and told me to stand up and I couldn't, she called Dr. Cadis herself. Beyond and above the hospital staff, her compassion and her professionalism is beyond. And I found out that there are people all over the hospital that know how good this woman is. I'm out of her. She's very shy in a way. And so I don't want to mention her name, but she's getting a dozen roses from Mr. Null. When I get out of here, she gets a dozen roses. And I told her this morning when she came back on shift, I said, you saved my life. And I'm not joking. And she said, well, that was the reason I called Dr. Cadis, was because I knew, because she'd been my nurse for the last 4 days or whatever, she'd been giving me my meds and could see that I was in severe distress. She called Dr. Cadis and said, if we send him home, he'll be back tomorrow with more injuries and he could quite possibly be dead. And if they had sent me home and I'd tried, I really, honestly, I don't know if I could have made it. I don't know, because nobody was going to stay with me. I was going to be by myself. And so with that said, she goes, I told him that he had to keep you and to change the orders immediately. Now, this was exactly 5:30 in the evening. And that's when the changes started. But if they weren't changed until the severity of my issue, I couldn't just say, oh, I'm hurting real bad, I need another day. That wasn't going to work. They were going to send me home as I was paralyzed. And I was paralyzed from the waist down. I could not stand or walk or even move. So that is Medicare. Had she not gone above and beyond, had she not called the doctor, had he not thought, well, maybe something's up, we should test him again, I honestly don't know if I would be here right now. It was, I'm not trying to exaggerate it, or I'm not looking for sympathy or compassion or nothing, because other people are suffering like me, some of them in the same hospital, and they're going through the same thing, and nobody knows about this. If you think that you're going to get let out too early and you need more time, if you don't appeal and you refuse to go, they're going to put you in the parking lot anyway. You can refuse all day long, but it would have cost me $900 a day. Now, I am in a nice private room, but that's beside the point. I would have had to pay for all my medications because I've been transferred to Part B. This is where Medicare is coming in. Please listen. And that I would have had to pay for this. I would have had to pay for that. I'm under Part B. And also, I have no patient's rights to deny, to appeal the decision to let me out of the hospital. So the courage of this nurse, and of course, when the doctor found out, and then when the hematoma showed up on the MRI, well, then everything did change, because now they had proof. They couldn't take my word for it. They couldn't take the nurse's word for it. 2 nurses read the report that is in a permanent file now from the incident. None of that mattered until this lady went above and beyond and called the doctor at home. And that's what set this thing in motion. So Medicare wanted to kill me. That's how I look at it. And people are going, aren't you being a little, no. Because had they sent me home, I don't honestly know if I could have survived the night. I know I would have fallen. I know I couldn't have made it. And because I live by myself, Duggar can't dial 911. His paws are too big. And poor guy, he's at the house waiting on me to come home too. But he's had neighbors and folks to feed him and play with him and everything. So he's been taken care of, but he misses Papa and I miss him. But so now we're at this point. So I'm waiting for Monday. I actually think, unless something happens, I can get out Monday. Otherwise, I feel pretty good, except for where they ripped my spine back open again and held it back and Stanley steamered my spine. But with that said, though, certain parameters changed again because they have this outline. Well, we can't let you out right now because, we made up these damn rules that after a hematoma like this and after a pressure washer in, we got to keep him 3 days. We have to. It's there because they set up those rules. But if I'm not better on Monday or something, ain't nothing going to happen. But if Monday rolls around and I go, whether I'm hurting or not, I'm going home. Unless there's other proof. I want to go home, don't get me wrong. But but through this entire process, I found out that I had been switched by Medicare 4 times in the same day. I went from inpatient to outpatient, back to inpatient, then back to outpatient, inpatient, then back to outpatient. This is what the caseworker told me. She goes, Mr. Null, I don't know what was going on. She said the administrative staff was in such an uproar on Wednesday. Actually, it was Thursday when I was going in for the surgery. People on different floors of the hospital had heard of my issue and the issue with Medicare. And many of the nursing staff did not know what was going on. The staff in administration didn't know what was going on. So I started out outpatient, inpatient, outpatient, inpatient, outpatient, inpatient, until finally Cadis said, he's not going home. Come in. Oh, he's here to take my blood pressure. Okay, come on around, John. I'm doing live stream. Yep, you get interrupted at all times of the day and night. But anyway, he doesn't have to show his face, but John's been absolutely wonderful in helping me take care of myself and getting my bath and everything. There he is. There's John. Wave, John. Yeah, he's taking my blood pressure. But proof that I'm in the hospital. Proof that I'm here, right?
Yes, you're not just sitting at home faking it. That's for sure.
No, this is not a set behind me.
Not a green screen.
not a green screen. That's a good one, John.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I gotta shut up a minute. He's got to take my temp.
Yeah, that's all right. We got a lot of people following tonight. We got Max Vision, who stopped in to say, hey, David, glad to see you're doing better. Michelle Can-Am Free is here. Much love, she says. Joe Sapien is here. And he is, and Chloe woke up from a nap just in time to make the show. And Mark, the Arc Spark, has joined us. Grandpa Brian. Yes. So we got a lot of people in here tonight. Allie Berry came too. Allie Berry says, wishing you health, David. So
Ooh, that's high.
Elderberry is in the house too.
This is one of the highest readings, 183 over 90. It's been in the 140, 50 range, but at the moment it's up there.
That's because we got you all worked up.
Yeah, and it's been a really busy day. The therapists have been here today, and I've walked around and everything. So I've had a lot of movement and motion. Thank you, John. Mm-hmm. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Jones says she's sending healing to Hawkeye. Yes, that's for sure. So anyway.
I love you all. I thank you so much. And I'm not trying to make this a boring story, but there are certain key points along the way as to how bad it was. And like I said, I'm not soliciting, sympathy or anything, but yesterday it was very much welcomed. But anyway.
Esley has joined. He says, got the TV playing, jumping on my device to wish you well, David. Thank you. There you go.
Thank you all. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I could feel the prayers coming in, and I can't thank you all enough, honestly.
And Regine,
back to
Regine Hutchinson says, blessing you, your nursing staff for the good care you're getting and sending much. Your blood pressure gets more normal. So there you go.
Yeah, it was much better earlier today, but I've had my shots and I've had this and I've been up and, Robert and I've been trying to set up this live stream and everything. And so it's been a really busy day, and it's been about 30 hours now since my surgery. So it was just yesterday afternoon. So, but anyway, and the fact that I'm doing well, I had a drain in my spine with a little ball that sat here on the right-hand side that kept filling full of blood. Now, talking about the blood, what it started I'm going to repeat it, I think, but what started it was so many days after surgery, because of my heart condition, they were to start me back on blood thinners, which is exactly what the doctor did by here again, protocol set up by Medicare. Okay. So he put me back on my heart doctor's medicine, which thinned my blood out so much that I leaked around my spine, and that's what created the hematoma, the blood clot. And it was pressing against nerves that I'd never hurt before. It went down, sciatica went down the back of both legs from my hips to my ankles immediately with such excruciating pain that I almost hit the floor coming out of the bathroom. And the two nurses were there to pick me up and get me back in. And I did this little shuffle to get back into the bed. That was Tuesday afternoon. But back to the Medicare thing. So even though there was all this obvious physical evidence that the nurses were writing into my permanent log, into the hospital records, and I think that's what I was outpatient. No, I'm in. No, I'm out. I'm in. I'm out and I'm in, because whoever's doing the evaluation and filling out the boxes on the Medicare website from the hospital, it's the hospital's direct. Every person, when you go in, you get your patient number, and then which is attached directly to your Medicare card. And so whenever they're required, again, Medicare's outline. If they say, well, something's happened and you got to enter it, then you have to go back through and check off the boxes again. So apparently there were several people the other day who were going into my personal, which they can, my personal Medicare account and updating what was going on. So at one time it was like, well, did he make it out of the bathroom? Yeah. Okay, well then, okay, he's an outpatient again. Did he have this? Well, he's inpatient again. Well, but then finally, Dr. Kadis said, no, we're keeping him. And like I said, the MRI found the thingy, surgery yesterday, and here's today, like 30 hours later. So what is the lesson in this? Why am I having this live stream other than to say, this is, I wanted to describe the procedure because there are other people who are debating whether or not to have the surgery. Several days ago, the pain in my back had subsided. It was about a 6 and a 7, but it was coming down. And when they want you to, it says on the board over here and behind me that they want you to be at a 5, which, okay, I'll accept a 5. It's these 8 and 9s and 10s that'll kill you, literally. My blood pressure went up. I was sweating so hard. I mean, my shirt was soaked. The bed was soaked. They packed me with ice to help me. And then the ice bags broke and flooded the bed. And I was swimming in ice water. I couldn't move. They had another patient they were having trouble with. And so I had to lay for 7 hours in a wet, damp, cold bed, soaked. Everything was soaked. That's another part of this thing too. And thank God John was here to help me change the bed and get me, clean gowns and all that stuff. But anyway, so today, where they were kind of shy with sending somebody by, I had occupational therapy was here. Because they have to teach me when I get home, oh, you can't reach, Mr. Null. And I'm going, you mean I can't reach like this? No, you can't reach like that. Well, I'm standing here, literally, I was standing beside the bed going, but I can reach up. You say when I get home, I can't do this? Nope, you can't do that. Well, how long is it going to take me to heal? 3 to 4 months. Wow. Not weeks, months. I said, wait a minute. There's an aluminum grabber over there that I got free of charge through Medicare. But that's because the woman, the caseworker, I'm not going to mention her name, very nice woman, I'm telling you. When she came in yesterday or the day before, I grabbed her hands. We held hands. We did a prayer. She said, Mr. Null, I am so sorry that you've had to go through this. And I'm like, well, stuff happens. Now, here's the thing. The blood thinner, got to go back to that. I think it's warfarin. I might have neperin. I don't know. It's sort of like that. But anyway, it is a blood thinner, but it has a coagulant in it to stop you from getting a blood clot. And so they had placed me back on my doctor's original medicine, which is just a blood thinner. So the difference this time, and I told the doctor yesterday, I said, if you put me on that blood thinner, me and you going to have an argument. I don't know how bad I'm going to feel, but I'm going to reach over there and slap you. And he just smiled at me. And I said, I'm not joking. I do not. I love all these people there been pre-op and they're laughing. They said, it's good to see you again, Mr. Null, but we don't want to see you in here. We'd love to see you on the outside because we were all joking and singing and that. But it was, me, y'all. I'm gonna make friends no matter where I go. And so we're joking and things and stuff. And of course, many of them were the same people that the anesthesiologists and the nurses, the attending nurses and the people, they knew me from a week ago. And so, and as I'm telling them about the Social Security Medicare thing, the one woman who was writing down the data, she goes, well, I'm going to be retiring soon. You mean this could happen to me? And I said, yes, ma'am. She goes, but I've been working at the hospital for over 15 years. I've never heard of this. I work here. I fill in the forms. I help you get you in and out of the operating room. And of course, I said, you think I'm lying? I'm lying here on the bed, but I ain't telling a story. Well, I am telling a story, but I ain't telling a fib. And anyway, she was like, Oh my God. She goes, well, what are you going to do with this? And I said, as soon as I'm well enough, I'm going to do a live stream with my friend, and we're going to talk about how Medicare is literally, I don't know how many people are being killed every day because they are being released too soon, which exacerbates the situation. I know my own body, and I told him, I said, you can't send me home. I'm not strong enough. I got to be able to stand up. I mean, I didn't have the strength to stand up to make a bologna sandwich if I could have made it to the kitchen, which ain't that far. But, you know, other people, you know, so this could happen to you. If you're retired and on Medicare, or even not retired, but you're on Medicare, it doesn't matter. Now, it doesn't matter whether or not you've got Humana or United. Now I'm under the WellCare program. It doesn't matter what program you're under Medicare. It doesn't, because they all have to conform to the same outline thingy that Medicare has set up across the United States now. This ain't just in Georgia. This is United States has set, and I've been looking to try to find out how they set up this criteria. I haven't found that yet. And when I get home and I got a computer, I'm going to do some more research. Of course, I've been in touch with the doctors and nurses and the caseworkers. And, you know, John was just in here and he's like, I'm going to follow your channel from now on. And so, but with that said, if I have to go talk to people, and if I have to go knock on doors physically, of course, I'm not going to be able to drive for a couple of months. There goes my kayaking for the spring. But you have rights up to a point. And I've been in this hospital several times. It was in Collier County. I didn't know that I had patients' rights. They don't. This woman, the caseworker, is doing her job. And she came to me just to try to find me a walker. And that's what started her on this. Well, do you know about this, Mr. Null? No. Do you know about this, Mr. Null? No. She didn't know it all either. And she told me, she said, I've been begging the hospital to cross-train me from what I'm doing as a patient advocate to learn more about how the Medicare system works within the hospital. She goes, I found out that it is so messed up that even the hospital staff who work as the people directly, that's their job, to interface with the insurance, with the different Humanas or whatever, with the different insurance companies. But the bottom line that's come out is the outline, or I say outline, meaning that, if he's good and he does this, the outline of the patient, the criteria, if you will, that it's set up for all the hospitals across the nation, all doctors, all nurses, they all got to conform to what Medicare states. So if you go in and you got a bullet in your arm and they remove it and they say, well, you can go home the next day because Medicare says something. If you fall down and get a bruise, even though you might not be able to walk, Medicare says, well, we took x-rays. It's not broken. Yeah, it's bruised, but you're going home. We're not paying for it. But wait a minute, I'm 70 years old. Then why are you trying to tell me that? How did I go from inpatient to outpatient? Because different people are inputting from the nurse's notes, the doctor's notes, any test results. So if my test results came back good, they didn't before the MRI, they said, he's good, send him home. Even though I couldn't stand, even though I was in severe pain, didn't matter. And it doesn't matter for anybody else. This is just my story. But I asked the black lady that was signing me out so quickly, I said, this happens all the time, doesn't it? And she would not look at, she was a very kind woman, okay? Don't get me wrong, she probably has one of the nastiest jobs to sign people out when they're not ready. But she had told me, I said, I've got my appeal here. She goes, it's null and void because you were outpatient. But then she never showed back up, by the way. But I found out the next day that I had been shifted from in to outpatient 5 times on Wednesday. Well, Tuesday, I'm sorry. 5 times. In, out, in, out, in, out. Now I'm still in the same bed, still hooked up to wires and tubes. 5 times my status changed without anybody saying a word to me. And I'm the patient.
Yeah.
I'm the one that's in there. Not a word. And the hospital staff is confused. I mean, there were people in the OR that's like, you got to fill me in on the scuttlebutt. What happened with you and what went on the 5th floor yesterday? The scuttlebutt was all over the hospital, and that's a little fairly large for this area. It has 7 floors or whatever, and I'm on the 5th.
Yep.
So even the staff didn't know as things were changing. So if you think you're just going to go in, you've signed in, and you're good to go.
Well, I got a question. So here's
Go ahead.
the thing. So here's the thing is, maybe this is going to wake people up, but, most of the time when people are there, they're pretty much quiet, comatose to the world. They just let everybody do their thing. They don't say nothing. You're kind of an awake person. You
Right.
kind of, you're very alert and you pick up on these things where I'm sure a lot of people would be just like, whatever happens, it happens. I ain't going to ask questions because they know what they're doing. Right?
Right. You trust. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, but they do what they do, and you just sit there, and if they tell you got to go, well, then you kind of like you were like, well, I got to go. They're going to throw me outside, and I'm going to call some people, and I guess I'll have to do what I got to do, but you just don't realize all the other stuff that's going on behind the scenes. I guess that's what it is.
And they didn't even know.
Well, that's because it's compartmentalized. It's like you said to me earlier. Oh, you met the criteria? You're out of here. Oh, you're not meeting the criteria anymore. You're back in. You're meeting the criteria. You're out. They're looking at any chance according to the paperwork, not the person. They're looking at you have a price on your head. You're only worth so much. That's what I've learned out of this is you're only worth so much. And unless you're going to pay that $900 and everything else, Medicare says you met the criteria or you're out. I don't care if you're going to die tomorrow, but you got to leave. You're done.
You're done. Now, see, you say I was awake, but see, back when I had my heart attack in Colquitt County in July last year, they threw me out. I begged them another day. I don't have anybody at home. We were trying to set up visiting nurses. They were trying to get me a heart monitor. I was supposed to have a heart monitor before I left the hospital, and I had to go back in a week after the heart attack, and I'm released to pick up the monitor. So I went through that, that weird state of, they sent me home with medicine going, take care of yourself. You could throw a blood clot and have a stroke. And I'm like, I'm going to the swamp. There ain't nobody here. And my neighbors are working all the time, and there are people who can check on me, but I could be dead before they get home from work. So I was really concerned. I was okay to go home, but I was like, we did not have stuff in place. I did not know at the time that I could have, from that incident in Moultrie, that I could have appealed the decision.
Yes. And then had another day.
So nobody that I've spoke to, and I've got several other friends of mine who are right around my age who have heart issues and other things, and none of them know about this. Nobody knows that if they're throwing, but one friend of mine, Mr. Randy, he said, they put me in the parking lot before my wife could pick me up. He said, and he's an old Marine, and he said, I am so mad I will never go back to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. And he said, and we've talked back and forth, discussed our doctors and our heart conditions and all, and I've known Mr. Randy for a good 10 or 15 years. And his situation a lot worse than mine, but he's overweight and anyway, y'all, if you are above your BMI, you need to do the best you can to get your body mass indicator down to where it says, I love you all, but if you're 20 pounds overweight, you're going to die. and because I'll get into the vitamins and things in a minute, but well, let me touch on it now. I found out from the heart attack that if you, none of us take enough vitamin D. And vitamin D is not only good for your heart, but it has to do with your kidney functions. I lost 40% of my kidneys because nobody really explained how bad ibuprofen or goodies powders or anything and there is a list, an entire page long. And if you got that list and you said, you mean every one of these over-the-counter medicines will kill my kidneys? Yes, sir. And I mean, it's a big list. And the only thing that ain't on it is acetaminophen. And I've never been able to take acetaminophen in and of itself. I've always ibuprofen or this one or that one, or even aspirin these days are not aspirin. They're NSAID. Read the label, okay? And if you want aspirin, it's prescribed now. I got a bottle of aspirin, right? Actually, yeah, aspirin right here. My bottle of aspirin. And the only way I could get this bottle of aspirin was through the pharmacy. There's St. Joseph's aspirin, but now they cost an arm and a leg. Try to find aspirin that is just an aspirin and not NSAID.
Yeah.
Anything that has NSAID in it is going to kill your kidneys. It will kill your heart. And they don't talk about, this is, if you take too much of this, listen. So the medical profession, I would say, and the drug companies are not telling us, the consumer, how bad these over-the-counter drugs really are.
Yes.
If you're using, I was using ibuprofen as my main painkiller for like 10 years. And I looked at the kidney doctor and I said, I've done this. I killed my own kidneys. Thank God we caught it at age 70 and, I haven't taken another one yet since, but that's not the point. How many people know this? Well, and I'm going to get on to AARP too, because here is this group of people who are supposed to be for the seniors. Sign up and you'll get a free tote bag, but they ain't giving you the right information. Going back to vitamin D, I had to take mega doses of vitamin D after my heart attack because vitamin D is beyond, it is so important for so many organs, because if one organ starts to fail, it starts cascading through the body. And vitamin D can stop it, help it, keep you alive. Now, this is from 3 separate doctors, kidney doctor, urologist, and another doctor.
Yeah.
How many of you know about that? But I think I was talking with Witch Moon today about vitamin D, and I said, she said something, I'm sorry, Witch Moon, I got to use you. That's all there is to it. But she takes a vitamin D, but there are other things in it.
Yes.
Now, this is my personal. Only if it's vitamin D, only take vitamin D. Don't put nothing else in it.
Yeah.
It's got to be just vitamin D. Because if you have an issue that vitamin D's got other supplements with it, oh, it's going to make you healthy. And it's really? They've lied to you about everything else. How the hell do you know if this mixture of stuff with the vitamin D is actually good for you?
Well, yeah,
The
I agree.
vitamin D is by itself.
Yes.
Don't go mix it. Don't get vitamin D with something else. Get vitamin D. And if you think you're taking enough, you're not.
Yes, you got to take a lot more.
I said, huh?
Here's well, and that's right. Mark the Ark says vitamin D it does come from the sun. Yes, it does, but a lot of people don't go out in the sun that much anymore. Besides that,
But
most of your body is covered with clothes.
right. But not only that, as many of us know, and as I've talked about on my channel for years, the sun has changed colors.
Yes, that is
The
true. Now,
vitamin D we used to get, and when I was a kid and growing up, it's not the same sunshine.
yeah,
It is not the same sunshine.
it isn't.
So we are almost forced to take a supplement.
Yeah.
And if you
Oh,
don't take a supplement, if you don't get enough sunlight, or even if you think you're getting enough, it's the wrong frequency.
yeah.
Many of us have been talking about, the difference in the sunlight and everything over the years. It's kind of sort of turned more blue instead of yellow. So, but with that said, and of course, if they've got those, those clouds in the sky from the airplanes,
Yeah.
And I don't mean contrails neither. I ain't gonna say the other word. But with that said, though, it blocks those beneficial things.
Yeah.
If it were correct, because it filters it so much, you think, well, I was outside today. I got my vitamin D. No, you didn't. It's got to be the right conditions, and you.
And the best vitamin D to get, now I take vitamin D a lot, is the liquid vitamin D because that goes right to your system.
Right.
And I take an eyedropper thing full of vitamin D morning and night. And that really helps me out, I think. I mean, this year, I very seldom get sick, very, very seldom. And, and I try to get out in the sun as much as I can. But that is right. Tomorrow, speaking of all this vitamins and aspirin and all these other things, I have a lady coming on. Her name is Witch Betty. Now, a lot of you guys follow her on Instagram, and she's going to come and talk to us about mushrooms, edible plants in the wild, and like I seen she has on her website, she has tinctures. And one of those tinctures that she has is what you were talking about. She has willow bark extract, which is the natural aspirin, right from the willow. If
Right.
you haven't known. So, like you're saying, you're going to have to go. You want to get the real aspirin stuff. You can't get that kind of stuff anymore. So this is a way to naturally get the real stuff. You know what I mean? So tune in tomorrow. Like I said, tune in tomorrow night, everyone, and we're gonna hear all about this stuff, about natural medicine, about getting naturally all this stuff. Because how many medications do you take nowadays? And what are they? Do you even know what that stuff is made out of?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Most
And one of the medicines I was taking, and I've told this on my own channel, but my right breast grew.
Okay, you want to know where what most of the medicines are made out of? They're made out of petroleum.
Yep.
And okay, guys, just go out there and drink some oil, and you'll do the same effect. Only they make it into a little bit different stuff, and then it's all based on the natural stuff, but it's tweaked enough that it does something, but it's not the real thing. You know, I don't remember where I did a broadcast on that, but back in the 20s or something, one of the big oil barons, he decided to start doing the doctoring, and he taught all the doctors, you know, to use these new drugs they were coming up with from the pharmaceutical stuff as from the petroleum, and told everybody that anybody doing natural stuff was a quack, was a witch, was a
Right.
you know, wacko in the head. You can't be taking that stuff. You don't know if it's any good.
Right.
And look where we are now. Here,
Yeah.
take some aspirin. You ruin your kidneys. What do you mean? How come there's not a big billboard saying, "Don't take this stuff. You might ruin your kidneys"? No, it's probably just a little bitty thing you can't even see on the back of the label if you read all of that. Right?
Yeah, they say it could potentially harm you. Well, and that's something I read potentially, right? Well, that's true. If you
Yeah.
just take a couple of them every once in a while, you're okay. You can manage.
Yeah.
But as a day-to-day regimen of, you know, oh, it keeps the swelling down and it helps with your arthritis. And I've talked about this before, and I've surprised many people. And I had a bottle of aspirin that says aspirin on it, bare aspirin. But then there's a little thing that says it's NSAID, NSAID. It's not aspirin. It says aspirin on the bottle. It's not aspirin.
Yeah. Yes.
And
yes,
so, you know, you look at it and go, "Ooh, I got a bottle of aspirin." And then when you read in the kind of sort of small print, and well, actually, NSAID is usually in capitals, but people look at it and I said, have you looked that up? Is what this is? Well, no. Well, what's the difference between taking aspirin and a this and a that? Because they all contain NSAID now.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's a variation of the aspirin, the natural stuff.
No,
You know?
it's not a variation. It is chemically reproduced.
Well, yeah, but that's what I mean. It's to mimic what the aspirin would do. But
Yeah, okay, I will go with that. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's
Yes, I do.
it, but it's not aspirin.
Not at all.
But like you're saying, it's like saying I'm going to drink Diet Coke versus real Coke. Is it the same?
No,
Well,
you know.
Well, it kind of is, but it's not. You know, because it's got different stuff in it. It may taste similar, but it's not similar. You know, I'm just, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and it's like because it says Coke, you assume it's Coke or Pepsi or whatever. But to go back to Medicare.
Yes.
If you're going to have a procedure, and you know, and sometimes the stuff happens, like me having the heart attack. I did not expect that. But that's what alerted me this time. Wait a minute, you're going to throw me out like they did in Conquet County? And somebody must have heard me because it was like, what? They threw you out in the parking lot and at the neighboring hospital? Now, the hospital staff there was very good, very attentive. They were worried about my condition. But when Medicare said, time's up, none of their opinions mattered. And I did not know about the appeal. Now, let me talk about that a minute. Once you call in, remember I said the date, there was the number 609 and then my DN. The 609, now this was, the clock's right there. It was 2:30 in the afternoon when I talked to this woman on the phone. I said, what's the 609? She said, you're the 609th person today to appeal the wrongful decision of being expedited to the parking lot. And I said, what? And Robert and I talked about this the other day, and I said, Robert, think about this. It was only 2:30, and they take them, and I think they were Central Time or something. They weren't Eastern Time. So, and I'm looking at the clock as Eastern Time, so Central, there's an extra hour there. But by 2:30 in the afternoon, I was the 609th person to file a claim for that day. Now, with the remaining time in the day for somebody to call, Robert and I were figuring on average, there would have been 1,000 people that day. Just ballparking it. And I asked the woman on the phone, she was very kind. And I said, is this a high average, low average? And he said, well, it's a little low. So on average, there are at least 1,000 people a day who know about this now to appeal the decision that they're being sent home too early from the hospital. 1,000 people a day. Now, 365 days, that's 3,650 a year on just ballparking the numbers a little bit. But those are the people who know about it. I was in Moultrie. My buddy Randy got thrown out. There were people down here that got, discharged early. None of them knew that they had patients' rights. And then you don't know what your status is. So you think, well, I've got patients' rights, and they go, nah, you don't, because you're outpatient. What? You can appeal all you want to, but you're outpatient. That form and that number don't mean squat to us, because in the hospital, because you're under Part B and because of Medicare's rules, pay attention, it's them. They're the monsters in this. They want to kill us old people off because they've got so many young people who are taking advantage of the Medicare system. Well, they're poor, and I'm not trying to say that younger people who are disadvantaged or whatever shouldn't deserve health care. I'm not saying that at all. But us older folks who've had a lifetime, throw them out. We don't care. Bye-bye.
Yep.
Nobody knows about this, okay? And that's why Robert and I are here today. And I'm going to do more videos when I get home and get my channel back, because I haven't been able to live stream up from it. Because people need to know that we as patients do have rights, but you damn sure better contact the caseworker before you go in for the procedure and say, I want a patient advocate. Every hospital has one, but it doesn't mean they have to tell you. Okay? That's the key. The key here is awareness. You all now know, spread the word to your friends and family who are elderly. Hey, Ma, hey, Pa, do you know that you have rights? Now, here's the deal. The rights only last for 24 to 48 hours. And then get this, it's an independent company separate from Medicare who does the review. And the woman told me on the phone, nice lady, Miss Crystal, she goes, and Mr. Null, she said, and the doctor who's going to look over my case is an independent contractor from our organization. Our organization is separate from WellCare, which is my Medicare, so that, they can't be supposedly they can't be influenced, quote, by the system. Now that's pretty cool. And then I thought about it and I said, so there is a doctor out there in La La Land who's going to get my file, doesn't know me, doesn't know I almost hit the floor, doesn't know what my pain levels are. Well, he's read that I've had a lumbar blah, 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 but that's all he knows. He sees, well, your blood pressure is good. He sees all the things that are sent to him, except the fact that there's something else wrong. He's sitting somewhere out there in La La Land, in the faraway land of La La, making the decision as to whether or not you can stay for 1 or 2 more days until the review process has been done. And that don't mean that don't mean that you're going to win, but this is what the caseworker told me. She said, during the process, they have to keep you as inpatient. Mm-hmm. They can't be changing you around. But when 48 hours is up and they get their little thingy, then they can change it, and they can't throw you out, and they can't charge you the $900 a day or whatever the hospital does. They have to you got 48 hours. Big deal. But when she came in yesterday, when I looked at her, I said, do I have to appeal again? I'm ready. I got the phone number right over here in my little file thing. I'm fixing to call them. She goes, no, we got it. Because I had the MRI, it showed the blood clot. But how many other people weren't in necessarily as dire straits as me? But when I was in the Moultrie Hospital after the heart attack, I needed another day to get stuff ready at the house. So the visiting nurses could come, which they did. They provided good service. But no, go, because Medicare says you're overdue. Criteria says you're well enough to be on your own, whether you're at home or not. They don't care. Now, the patient advocates do. So if you're going to go into the hospital for a procedure, or you end up in the hospital and because like a heart attack or something, God forbid anybody has to have them, but that's how the world is these days. But the first thing you should do if you're awake is get in touch with the hospital staff and make them send you a patient advocate to your room. They have to. It's by law, not just Medicare law, but by federal law, there must be a patient advocate. And so, but they're not necessarily going to walk up to you. This woman, her job is for all the patients on the 5th floor. So she'd heard me yapping and talking and this and that. And of course, she told me, she said, the 5th floor has the best communication between the nurses and the staff than any of the other floors. God put me in the right place, ladies and gentlemen. I am not lying. They put me on the 5th floor with some of the best people in this hospital. And like I said, it's a fairly large facility, especially for Thomasville. And they compete with Tallahassee because Tallahassee's just like 40 miles down the road in Florida, Tallahassee, Florida, right? But anyway, but how many seniors know anything about this? If I hadn't gone through this process myself, and I'm talking to other seniors, my good buddy Tom was in yesterday bringing me his underwear, and he lent me this T-shirt. I want my T-shirt back, Dave. It was funny. I said, Tom, you know where I live. I'm not going to steal your T-shirt, but this T-shirt means something to him. But anyway, we sat here and talked about it, and he said, well, he's 2 years younger than me. He was a motorcycle race car driver thingy and had a really bad accident and broke his shoulder, his arm, and a bunch of ribs. It gave him a really bad head concussion. And he said, I didn't know about any of this. He said, and he's got United insurance through Medicare. He said, my mama had it and she did this. And I said, well, Tom, what it used to be a few years ago when your mama was alive, it's changed. The internal workings of Medicare, they're always trying to make it better, make it more streamlined, make it more efficient. And guess what? They want to save money. Okay?
It's all about the money.
It's all about the money, because why would they switch you from Medicare Part A while you're in the hospital hooked up to stuff to Part B where you're going to have to pay? What has changed? They did.
Yeah.
This is very serious. There are millions of us who have lived our lives and paid into the system. And now that I'm here, I don't make much money every month. I'm on limited income. I'm 70 years old. I applied for indigent care before they ever started the process of me getting an operation. So I told the lady yesterday, I said, I don't care. I don't care who's going to pay for it. I'm not leaving. And of course, well, if you're under Part B, I said, I don't care. And she said, good, you shouldn't. She said, you know, there are so many poor people that come through this hospital with no insurance and everything gets paid. I'm not down about the Mexicans, but there are a lot of them down here, and most of them don't have insurance. They get free health care. Guess what? They're Medicare.
Yeah, they don't pay at all.
But because they're healthy and strong and all this kind of stuff, and they're good workers, and they don't speak much English, they get away with. I'm not blaming the Mexicans. It's not their fault, okay? I've known many of them over the years. They're fine people, but they're illegal. But because they're illegal and don't have a green card, they can walk in, have services, and don't have to worry about whether or not it's in or out or this or that, because they ain't going to pay anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, the system allows that, but it'll throw me out because my 4 days is up, regardless of my condition or your condition. It ain't just me. I'm telling you, this is just my story this time. But anybody that's on Medicare, regardless of the age or condition, you're still under their criteria. So what I want to find out is who's made up these stinking rules. Now, I was reading Wikipedia, and it's no longer the Medicare system. They've kind of merged it with something else, unbeknownst to the rest of us. Well, it's Medicare. Yeah, it's Medicare. And now it's being directed by somebody else who's overseeing these things. Guess what? Pencil pushers looking for dollars to save. So if by chance you would happen to die, well, they save money. And if they kill enough of us old people off, and it could be younger people too, it depends on the situation. But, you know, us older folks are more inclined because we're not quite as aware. We think that we have been led to the belief that because we've paid in and we're on Medicare, oh, I've got Humana, doesn't matter. Oh, I've got United, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the carrier, okay? That's well, I chose this one. It don't matter. Well, I got Humana. My dear friend Marcia, I've talked about, who was a nurse. She had the same back surgery I did, but her back got infected, and of course, she was 350 pounds and hard to turn, but she died from it in a nursing home. I'm going to talk about her a minute. I love you, dear, but you've been gone. They put her in a nursing home. At the end of 30 days, they said, you can't stay here no more. We have to find another facility. She had to go home for 10 days while they were trying to find another nursing home. And she really needed one. She had shattered her arm, her shoulder. She's 350 pounds. She couldn't walk with a walker. And she was like, David, help me. I said, honey, I can't pick you up. I can barely walk myself. I said, you need to be in some kind of care facility. And the last time I saw her, I knew her time was up. And sure enough, a couple weeks later, she was dead. But they passed her from nursing home to nursing home to nursing home to nursing home, Medicare. She had the best Humana. She had extra care Humana. She paid out on limited income still. She was paying out $200 or $300 extra a month to have these riders with Humana. And it didn't do her a dime's worth of, at the end. Mm-hmm. Because even though she had Humana, Medicare said you could only stay at this facility for 30 days. And then you're gone. We don't care where you're going. And you can't go back to the same facility. You must go to another facility. Now, there are a lot of nursing homes around here. That's not the issue. You can't go back to the same one you were in, where the people might know your condition. You've been there 30 days. You've kind of, I've only been here a week and I've established rapport, like John coming in and all, So you establish a rapport with the staff. They know what your blood pressure should be. They know when your medicines are due. So they take you out of the situation with people who have worked with you for 30 days and you're gone. They send you to a different facility if you can find one. She was home for 2 weeks by herself. I went over and visited. She had her granddaughter come out and stay, and she went through hell to find the next nursing home. Now, my doctor wanted me to go to an extended facility. He wanted me to go to a nursing home because I live by myself, so I could gain my strength, work with some, physical therapists. And guess what? Because of my criteria, I didn't fit it, couldn't walk, couldn't stand, but you're going home. No intermediate institute for Dave.
Yeah. Because
the criteria said I don't qualify, and the lady said she said they refuse to cover you. They refuse to send you to an extended care. All I wanted was a few more days to get my strength back. I didn't care about a private room or nothing. I just didn't want to go home by myself until I could stand and walk. Is that such a hard thing to ask for after having, the amount of back surgery and stuff that I had? I don't think so. Other people don't think so. Even the doctor said, Dave, you should go to an intermediate care for maybe a week, get your strength, and then go home. Nope, refused. Can I stay here? Nope, you got to go home. So what choice do you end up having? None.
Yeah.
And it's Medicare's criteria.
Well, I hope this all wakes people up. And like I said, I'm sure when you get home, you're going to do a bunch of shows on this for certain.
Yep.
And, we're pushing an hour and 45 minutes now. So,
are we really?
Yeah, you've been going like right on a roll there. So,
well, there's a couple other things I want to touch on, but I also want to put out there, does anybody have any questions? Because I can't see the chat on the cell phone. So if anybody's got a question or something, put it out there and Robert will read it to me.
Yes.
But I want to finish up with this in that, so if you think you're safe, you think everything is under control, you've got to be armed. If you end up they got to call an ambulance, it's a little hard to be pre-armed with the situation. But if I'm giving you information that is absolutely valid right now, has been going on since I had my heart attack last July, it goes with every hospital. If you're in the hospital for whatever reason, whether you volunteer or not, now I did volunteer for this, and I thought I did my homework. But obviously, there was no way I could have done all of my homework because I didn't know any of this. So please, you folks out there, whoever watches this video, please, Jesus, you have got to tell other people. Because I've lost two good friends that was basically because of they couldn't get the correct service, thinking that Medicare's got they got my back.
Yep.
And they didn't. But they didn't know until they were in there. I didn't know until I was here. Folks don't know. They think, oh, well, Medicare, I got Humana. It's the best one. They're going to pay for it. They'll pay for it if Medicare allows it.
That's right.
That's the trick. They will pay for it if Medicare allows it. So everybody, I'm covered. I got it. I got extra riders. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Well, it's supposed to pay for it. But if you're outpatient, doesn't matter. So we got to tell each other, this is a serious business because it comes down to dollar bills, like Robert said earlier. If they can send me home a day or two early, whether I die or not, they've saved $900 a day plus expenses, right? So they saved $1,800 if they would have sent me home early instead of me, going through this process. But get with the patient advocate. If you got there by an accident, you have the knowledge. You say, okay, I'm here. I've had an accident. I broke my leg. I want to see the patient advocate. I want to see the hospital patient advocate. Because if you've had your leg broken or whatever, and they say, well, it's in a cast, you're good to go. You might not be good to go. You might need another day. But the criteria from Medicare will say, time's up. And you go, but wait a minute, don't I have any rights? Nobody speaks up. But now please, Jesus, y'all spread the word. Because I'm going to dive in more if I can find it. Because, they don't want to tell us the truth. So because I've had these incidents with the caseworkers and so forth, I can call back because I have been a patient and ask them questions. You see, if I'm not a patient and I want to call, they go, we don't know who you are. But because I have been a patient here and still am, I guess, anyway, I'm still here, then your rights kick in. So even though I leave the hospital, now here's the other thing about this. If they have the orders for me to be released, if I had walked out the hospital doors and called that number, it would have been null and void. I have to call while I'm still in the hospital. If they put me in that wheelchair and wheel me out them doors, I can't go outside and call with my cell phone. It won't work.
Yep.
So if you think, well, they're going to push me out the door, I'll call them. You don't leave. You hold on to something and you call from the hospital lobby. Do not leave the hospital. You have to call. Well, you may not be in your room, but if you leave the hospital grounds or go out that front door, it's not going to matter then. Because guess what? Now, it's not Medicare's criteria, but it is the government's criteria. Mm-hmm. So it's the management and everybody. Oh, well, you can appeal, but you better not go out the front door because then we're not going to listen to you. So to me, especially me being here under the circumstances, this is a big flipping deal, everybody. And especially with the folks that I've known and the folks here at the hospital, the nursing, none of these people knew it. Even the caseworker lady didn't know. And it's her job, okay? So this is how serious it is, because every single hospital and every single doctor's office is following this. Now, what do we do about this? We educate each other. There are rules and regulations. I'm sorry, but it's like a conspiracy because they don't want us to know. Why would they hide this information? Now, I'm going to look at it from the side that isn't this fraud? I mean, you think you're in there and you're under one and they change it while you're there. And isn't that fraudulent? I mean, come on, that's fraud by the United States government-run agency of Medicare. And it is billions of dollars a year they're trying to save and kill off us seniors. So the younger generation and the Mexicans, it's not their fault because they're allowed to do it. But they're trying to save money from us, kill us off some of these old people here so they can have money to spend on these other projects, which aren't supposed to be coming out of Medicare anyway.
So
anybody got any questions?
7P says, who is they? Keep saying they. Who is they?
Those folks who run the Medicare system.
Okay.
It's that they. But guess who they are? They're part of the bigger group of folks who are defrauding the American people. All the years I've paid into Social Security, all the money that I've paid in, well, you got 3 days, time's up.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have changed my primary doctor without my permission. I got a notice at the 1st of February that in January, the doctor that I go to is no longer part of the providers.
Yes.
So I've been going to this doctor. I found the guy. He's been really great. And now I'm not supposed to go see him because guess what? Medicare said that I can't go to him anymore. They sent me the name of another doctor. I don't know. He's in Moultrie. Okay. He may be a fine doctor. I don't know. But the doctor I'm going to, whoops, you can't go to him no more. This is your primary doctor now. Now, who said I wanted to change? It took me 10 years to find somebody that I trusted. And now Medicare won't pay for this guy because they've made the decision that Dave's going to have this Dr. Brown now instead of Dr. Bill. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't make the decision and I have no choice in the matter. If I want to continue to see my doctor that I really like the guy, guess what? I'm going to have to pay the bill.
Yes. Yes. Well, and see, that's the thing. It's the umbrella. 7 Pieces Umbrella Corp. Yeah, it's the Umbrella Corp. The people in the big office buildings looking at the numbers and the statistics, trying to make up rules and regulations for the people that they have to pay the money out to. Now,
right.
They're looking at numbers. They're looking at, how can we cut? What can we do? Blah, blah, blah. Dr. Brown is cheaper than Dr. Jim. And so Dr. Jim is out the door, and Dr. Brown, Dr. Brown is your guy because, this is the category you fall into. So you're going to Dr. Brown now. And we don't care that you went to Dr. Jim before.
Exactly. And here's the thing. They tell me 2 weeks after I'm not supposed to go see him. Mm-hmm. I get a letter in the mail from WellCare. He's not your provider anymore. What? 2 weeks ago, he's not your provider. What? Mm-hmm. 2 weeks ago? Wait, I've got an appointment, and this happened in February. I said, my doctor is not my doctor no more, but I got an appointment on Thursday. Now what do? I went to the doctor. I have not gotten a bill yet, but I'm still scratching my head about this one. But they change stuff whether you want it or not. It doesn't matter whether you got WellCare, Humana, or United, or whatever the carrier is, because they don't make the decisions. They make the decisions based within Humana as to how they want to, treat patients, because they get an allotment of money. Look, if you're going to get X amount of money, and you are the stewards of this money because you are Humana. How you figure out how to use it? Well, some companies, provide dental. Some provide, you can go to a gym. So WellCare has tried to step up to match some of the stuff that Humana has. Okay. And I don't have a complaint with WellCare, but my problem is because they all have to answer to them, to the Medicare.
We got a question. 7 Pieces. How do you feel? How do you feel about those who gave you assistance, thankful or suspicious? The people that gave you assistance. I'm assuming he's talking about your nurses and your doctors that you have.
The nurses and doctors have been phenomenal. They have been beyond exemplary, because that floor nurse who stood up and said, I'm not letting my patient go home like this. She stood up for me. And I told her, I didn't tell her she was going to get a dozen roses from me, but, I told her this morning when she came, she was off for 2 days. And first thing this morning when she came in to give me my meds, I said, honey, you saved my life. You literally saved my life. And me and my group of friends have been praying for you. And when I leave this hospital, I'm going to continue to pray for you. Now, the administration part of it, they were still the Moultrie Hospital was not kind. Okay, I want to make that distinction. But these folks here, the administration, the black woman that came up and said, "I'm sorry, I'm going to have to sign you out," she would not look at me in the eyes. She was so embarrassed. She was so overcome with her own emotions because she had one of the crappiest jobs. She had to make me get out of the hospital because the rule said so. She didn't like it worth a darn. And she told me so in so many words because I asked her. And I said, "So how often does this happen with other patients?" And she was standing like right there beside the bed, and she put her head down and she goes, "It happens all the time." So that got me fired up. It wasn't just happening to me, it's happening to all of us who think we are covered.
Well, and don't, here's the thing I want to say is don't think that talking to people out there, everybody, we're all going to get old. We're all going to end up on Medicare at one point, sometime in the future, depending on, how your health holds out. But more than likely, you're going to have to go to the doctor at some point given in time. And then you're going to be faced with that decisions, those consequences. And in the future, depending on how old you are, like myself, it might be another 15, 20, 30 years, but then rules will have changed by then, and it might be way worse. They might say, "Oh, Mr. Robert V, you're past the age of 70. We can't do anything for you. Here's a cane. Go home. Maybe we'll send you some pain medication. But I think my liver's going out or my kidneys are bad. Sorry, sir, you're over the age of 70. There's nothing we can do for you. But my back is bad." Well, then don't get up. Just stay sitting.
TS.
Yeah. Too bad. So sad. So that's the thing, is how bad can it get before people say, "What do you mean?" But the thing is too, is that when you get an older person and that happens to, there ain't much they can do, because by this time they're retired, they don't have any money. You're just surviving to get through the rest of your life.
Right.
You ain't going to get out there and lead a million-man march, and you're not going to hire 40 lawyers. You're not going to start your life over. You're at the end. And I think they know it. They know you're at the end. And you can't do anything.
Yes.
And if you are really independently rich, you can go to any hospital you want and get all the services, because you could say, "Don't you worry, I'll write you a check. I want to stay in the hospital longer. Here's the $900."
I'm laying in the hospital bed as there, it's like 5:30, 5:45. I get a phone call from the hospital here in my room. It's this lady from the pharmacy inside the hospital. Actually, it wasn't. It was Archibald Pharmacy, but it's not in the hospital, but it's part of the group. She said, "Well, Mr. Null, I've got your medicines that the doctors want you to take." And I'm laying here in the bed. She brought them up and handed them to me, and I had to sign a paper. She goes, "You've got copay on these." What? "Yeah, you got a copay on these. Can you write me a check?" I'm in this freaking bed, in pain, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, "Well, you can take it home and we'll bill you. But here's your meds, nice little white bag, but you got copay on all this." And it was like $14 or something, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, "You mean I got to write you a check before I get them?" I'm laying here, "Well, we'll let you slide because you're going home right away." And I said, "I don't have a checkbook." I didn't come with a checkbook and money to pay for. How did I know I was going to have to pay the hospital a copay for medicines I'm going to take home? They don't tell you that neither. You know what I mean? So there are all these hidden things. And the word that keeps coming back into my tiny little putrid brain is it's fraud. They are defrauding the American people who are on Medicare because they don't tell you the truth. Why is it fraud? They don't tell you the truth. Is it a conspiracy? I think so. Because even the people who work in the system with the insurance companies don't understand it.
See, but here's the thing, and I hate to be a party pooper on all this. I'm sure that it is written somewhere in some big pile of books somewhere along the line. And I got stuff here. Hang on a second. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna share the screen. And just to
by the way, if anybody's got a cigarette they want to smoke it for me, because my patch just won't light. I know I'm not supposed to be smoking, but you can't light these patches.
Oh, here we go. Anyway, okay, so sorry about that. I thought I had it up, but I didn't. And then, okay, so there are papers that show these patients' rights and responsibilities. If you want to read them, your concerns, numbers to call, places to write, services. There's, tons of other things too. I mean, entitlements. There's things all over the internet, and I'm sure that there is books that you could get and read too. I looked it up while we were chatting there. There's ebooks to download Medicare and Medicaid forms for free. So see, like I said, they're out there, but it will take you a month's time to read these things, download this stuff, and squint and bore your brain out till you find all of these things, which is crazy, because who in their right mind is going to do that, to find all the details like you're finding out, unless you're in that situation? Because what are you going to spend 3 weeks trying to read through all of this stuff, trying to find out what Medicare is all about, how it works, what your rights are? Look at this. I mean, this is just Wikipedia, for God's sake.
And that's just one page. And here's the thing. Once you find the information, it's written in such a way you have to decipher it. I mean, you might as well be reading Egyptian hieroglyphics when you get down and dirty into some of this stuff. But here's the thing. They can change the hours or whatever simply by a memo within Medicare. Okay? Doesn't have anything to do with your provider, but the Medicare system and that CMS that was up there, I could see, go to Wikipedia, and they've got so many different links and places and stuff. And I was going through it before my phone went nuts. But I'm going to dive into it deeper when I get home and I got my computer and I can actually read some of this stuff. But here's the deal, my friends. You think you got it? You ain't. None of us do. The people within the system don't understand it. They argued on Tuesday 5 different times my status was changed. In one day, in one afternoon, 5 different times it was changed because they didn't understand. The people who do, it's their job to understand, could not decipher the information. Now you think, well, it's their job. When they admitted to me that they didn't know what they were doing, but they were doing the best they could with the information that they had.
Yeah.
And that their guidelines. And now the hospital in a way is at fault, but not really. The hospital has determined certain procedures. She told me, she said, I'm a caseworker. I should know about this, but they won't let me cross-train. She said, I'll volunteer my time. I've told the staff I would voluntarily learn the cross-training thing from my department, which is across the street from across the hall from the other lady who's working. She said they won't let me cross-train. They won't let me go in and learn. I'm learning these things as I go. And she's been at the hospital for 4 years.
Well, like I said before, you keep people compartmentalized, and if they only know their job. That one lady knows her job. The other lady knows her job, and that's all they know. They don't know anything more than what their job is, and that way, you don't have people speaking out. Joe Sapien says, isn't it true that people in the hospital are too out of it to understand the medical contracts? And I agree with that. Like I said before, you're speaking out because you're not all, loopy or half dead, and because you're not being just, an automaton there. You're going, what the heck is going on? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I do.
And so,
this is what I've told people. I am a cantankerous old man who's pissed off and bored, and that's dangerous.
Yeah. So anyway.
At time? Yeah. I get another bit of meds.
All right.
Yeah, this is Mr. Andrew. He don't want to be on camera. That's all right. But he's fixing to give me my my shot in my arm here.
Oh, okay.
You got to do it again. There we go.
But anyway,
so somebody asked me what about the staff and so forth. He's here on time, maybe a minute late. I'm picking on him, but they're in here. They've been taking care of me. I love every one of these people. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. They have helped me to heal. They want me to heal. They want me to be comfortable. And so I don't have any gripe. I love these folks. I do. I'm going to miss them when I get out of here, but maybe I'll come back and visit. But, but the idea, though, that do I feel like I've been being taken care of? Absolutely. Do I think the administration and some of their rules and Medicare, they let me down? Not these people who've been helping me to heal. God bless them. Here's my arm. This is steroid, right? Yeah, okay. So, but anyway, so with that said, though, there are so many people that I've met in the hospital here that do not understand the situation. Even the woman who was trying to explain it to me did not understand. So you think that the people, well, she's my caseworker. She might, or he might not really know. They're trying, they are individual. Thank you, Andrew. They're trying to understand. They want to help the patients as an advocate. But now this is where I would blame the hospital or hospitals, in that somewhere as it goes up a chain, someone has made the decision not to cross-train.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they're not cross-training people who are doing similar things for the same, but they won't cross-train. They don't want anybody to have too much information. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with all of this, I'm telling you, oh, that's what I was going to say. My youngest sister, Eileen, up in Ohio, she'd been writing me, Brother Dave, I'm fixing to go on Medicare. She's going to retire. Well, I'm not quite sure when, but soon. She goes, I'm terrified of what may or may not happen. She has irritable bowel syndrome and a couple of issues, even though she's my baby sister, and I'm 70, and I honestly don't know how old she is, but she's my younger sister, and she's terrified of this. She's losing sleep over what's happened to me because she is going to retire and she's going to have to deal with the system because she has pre-existing conditions and she's going to have to move from private insurance from her job to Medicare, and she's scared to death.
Well, that's why I told you. Eventually, it's going to affect. If you don't, people might think, it's not going to affect me, but in the future, it will affect you because we all get older.
Yep. If we don't die first.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's what I mean. We're all in the same boat. But anyway, we're pushing over 2 hours. We probably should call this a good one before everybody loses interest. But gets too tired. I notice people are starting to get tired. Any last words?
No, but I want to ask everybody, yes or no, do you think that this video has helped you in any way? Oh, yeah. By informing you, do you think that the information that I have passed on, which is absolutely dead true, has this helped you in any kind of awareness or whatever? Was this video worth it? Now, I know this is a long one because I spent an hour almost in just describing what happened to me, but there are people out there who would like to know what back surgery is like. Right now, I've just had my shot. You were here when John came in and took my blood pressure and everything. These folks are on top of it. Now, this is this hospital. I can't speak for them all. Do your homework. Which hospital should you go to if you're going to volunteer for a procedure like I did? Check out your doctors. Make sure they know what the hell they're talking about. So it is up to you as a patient to do your homework, unless you've had an accident and you can't do any pre-work. But do your homework, because I knew from my heart attack I had to cover certain things. Anybody answering yes or no?
Oh, yeah. We got Mark the Arc Spark says yes. Deborah Sloan says yes, David. Joe Sapien says, this stream sure got me riled up. And
me too.
17 said it affirms many of my personal presumptions. So I assume that's a yes. Anyway.
That's a good thing. We presume. Our fault is they have convinced us that they got our backs, and we presume that it's true. That's a good one.
Yes. So like I said, this was good. We'll have to do another one on here, and when you get back, you'll be doing shows, and I suggest that people tune in. Go ahead, go over there to David's channel, subscribe, tune in, set that alarm bell, so when he gets home, you can hear more about this, because I'm sure you're going to bring him some more good information.
And not only that, but if you've heard this video and you're still with us, and for anybody who might watch it afterwards, after the live stream's over, do start reading. If you think I got a brochure in the mail and they told me all this fancy stuff and I can go to the gym and everything, if you're dead because they sent you home early from a procedure, the gym ain't going to do you no good. Oh, Humana's got all these wonderful things. It ain't going to do you no good if you're dead.
That's true.
So if this has woke you up at all, go to at least to the Wikipedia page and just type in Medicare and start reading. There are links to other areas. Now, one thing, and I'm almost done, Robert, I swear I could talk another hour, but one of the things that I think I want to find, we do this. I want to find the regulations, if possible, because I think the conspiracy lies in that, like you said earlier, it's buried in a bunch of books. So it's prioritized, priority. Anyway, the hospital, they have a direct contact with my number, my Social Security, everything. And so, but that information about what boxes they check off, I want to find those. I want to find those. Where's the form that's only on the computer now? You log in and everything and check off the boxes. I want to see those forms. I want to see the daily forms that they had to fill out on me that changed me from in, out, in, out, in, out. Where are those forms?
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to be searching for, because that's what determined my status. And up to this point, now I know I need to do more searching, but that's where I'm headed, down this rabbit hole. And ladies and gentlemen, on the Wikipedia page, it tells how many people, and most of us on are low income who are on Medicare, because rich people don't care. They got money, they got their own insurance. They say, screw Medicare, I got my own insurance company. Okie dokie. Then if you've got a private carrier if you got Humana, you're under Medicare. You can have a private insurance company, like before you retire. That one is not covered by these parameters. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you that they have their own parameters for pick a company. Nationwide is on your side. So Nationwide has their own prioritized forms that the hospital fills out for private insurance, because they have their own criteria as well. Yeah. Now, because it's a private carrier, you still have to go digging to find out what their criteria is. Did they have a time limit? Does Nationwide say, well, after this operation, you got 4 days, and then we're not going to cover you anymore? Mm-hmm. So even because of the way the healthcare system has evolved, now I was telling Robert earlier, they came in with this great big huge machine. They had to open both doors, and a big x-ray machine, and it was like almost to the roof up here. Took a picture of my chest, and within a minute it was developed. And she said, you want to see what your chest looked like? And it was already digital, had already been Wi-Fi'd to the main computer bank here at the hospital, and is now part of the regular records of the x-rays. It wasn't like she had to take it a chip and go download it. No, as soon as she took that picture of my chest, I'm telling you, it was almost on the ceiling up there. It looked like a transformer when it started unfolding. I said, is this robot going to kill me? She just laughed. But so some of this technology is amazing. And it's beyond some of my comprehension. You develop that film in a minute, and I can see the picture of my chest and inside, like sitting right here in the bed. That's amazing. But at the same time, with all these amazing technologies we have, it's being controlled by corporations.
Yep, yes, it is. Well, anyway,
I love you all. Thank you for listening. I thank you for all of your, I'm going to shut up, Robert. Thank you for all of your prayers. I have been praying for you all myself, and I can feel them. And I've asked people to pray for the nursing staff. I think you have. But that woman had the courage to stand up to the hospital system and arrange it so I didn't have to go home. And I had to go through another deadgum operation and everything, but I just got another shot on time, But pick your hospitals, pick your carriers. Just don't assume. Well, I got Medicare, I got Humana. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Please do your homework and tell other people. Please spread the word.
Mm-hmm. And we will. Everybody will.
Okay. I'm not done, but I'm going to shut up.
Okay. Well, I wish everybody well. Everybody wants to get to bed, I'm sure, because I do too. And I see we dropped out a few people. So before I may as well let him talk longer.
Yeah, I'm going to shut up. Good night, everybody. I love you. Thank you for your prayers.
Yep. Thank you all for joining Lucky Stone. 7P, Musgrave Griffin, Travis a Brick, Mark the Arc Spark, and Joe Sapiens. Man, a lot of people came in. Mossy Man, Deborah Sloan. Don't worry, we'll be doing more shows. Don't forget to join us tomorrow night when Witch Betty is coming on to talk about mushrooms, plants, edible plants, natural herbs and tinctures, and things like that. It's going to be exciting. Grandpa Brian is going to join us because he's the plant man, and we will see you all tomorrow night. Remember, go out, be the frequency you want to receive, everyone, because if not, it'll come and bite you in the ass later.
Yeah, well, and cheers, everybody. Please spread the word. Please pay attention because it literally could mean the difference between life and death for you or a family member.
That's right.
This ain't a joke. This is serious business. Peace out.
Peace out.